What's going on, everybody? My name is Cayleb Pletos, and today I wanted to give everyone an update on the car that I purchased. So, a couple videos back, I posted a video that I purchased a car for $800. Now, I'll put the link to that video below if you haven't seen it yet, but that's what I'm driving now. It is a 2010 Ford Focus, and this vehicle, this is an SE, it's the SE model version of this car, and this car has a manual transmission. So this is the first time that I've owned a car that is a manual, and I've been daily driving this car for about a week now, and I wanted to give you guys an update on it as a daily car. So it's kind of an interesting shift going from driving an automatic everywhere to driving a manual most of the time. I still have my Mustang and I still drive it, but being that it is an automatic, it's definitely different dailying that and now dailying this. I still drive that car on weekends, and usually anywhere but work, I take this car. I live kind of far away from my work, so I take this to work every day. I really save on gas. This car gets about 30 miles to the gallon, which is a great thing to have in a daily car. So now, touching on the fact that this car is a manual, it was definitely an interesting shift to driving a manual all the time, and I definitely had some points in the process where I was really nervous. Maybe there were some roads that were like super busy and I was kind of nervous driving on, just because it was a car that I've only owned and driven for a couple days, and I wasn't comfortable to the point that I should be of driving a manual. But since then, I've really grown and learned a lot. I enjoy learning how to drive this thing, and it's definitely a lot of fun. So given the fact that I've only driven this car for about a week now, I definitely am not the world's best manual driver, not by any means, but I can definitely tell that my skills have increased and I'm a lot more comfortable driving it. So here's what I think about driving a manual car. You know, this is just a 1 week update and kind of some of my first impressions as well. So the actual aspect of driving with 2 feet is wasn't that weird to start off. I didn't find that at all uneasy or hard to get a hold of. But what there were I guess 2 or 3 main things that I kind of struggled with at first. And the first thing that I struggled with, which is a lot of people have this issue, it's getting the car from neutral in a parked, stopped position over to starting the car and rolling smoothly and comfortably, and being able to also get that every time, finding that clutch grab point and being able to do that maybe under pressure when there's people behind you at a light or something like that. I had an instance when I was learning where I was at a light and it was really busy in traffic, and I stalled it because, you know, there was somebody honking at me behind me, and I was just kind of worried, and I stalled it out of being a beginner and learning, and kind of because I was under pressure a little bit. I felt uncomfortable with it, therefore stalling the vehicle. But since then, I've gotten a heck of a lot more comfortable with it, and I feel a lot better with my driving, especially being able to go from a parked position into first gear is, I would say, the hardest part about driving a manual. I've heard other people say the same thing, and also it's interesting to learn how to do that on a slanted surface. For example, I parked this car in my driveway, which is slanted, so therefore I have to take this car and put it from a stopped position into first gear relatively quickly, because once you take off that parking brake, you're just rolling backwards, and if there is somebody parked behind me, I got to make sure I do that quick enough that I don't hit them. So that's definitely, I would say, the hardest part about driving it, and the hardest thing about learning to drive a manual. But since I purchased the car, I've dailied it all over the place, and I'm feeling a lot more comfortable with my driving. The second big thing that I think a lot of people struggle with, and I personally struggled with as well, was trying to find the proper ratio of how much gas to give the car and where to do that while you're letting off the clutch. So I kind of struggled where I was either giving the car too much gas or not enough, where I would start to jerk a little bit. But knowing how much gas to give your car as well as when to do that throughout the clutch pattern is definitely something that just kind of comes with experience and time and driving. So I've started to get used to driving this car to the point that I feel like I should be in a manual in my Mustang. Now, when I purchased the car, I really didn't know any better that I should have gotten a manual transmission. But you know, when I hop into any other vehicle, I start to instinctively put my left foot up and get ready to push the clutch in when there's no clutch. So I definitely can tell that I'm starting to develop some muscle memory. But there are still points where I have to kind of think about it a little bit. It's not completely fully natural, but I'm well on my way to getting there. So we're actually gonna fuel up this car right now. This will be the first time that I gave this car a full tank of gas, and I've been driving this thing forever. I've taken it to work at least 5 or 6 times now since I bought it, which that's like a 30-mile trip 30 miles back and forth as it is. So I've driven this place to the moon and back, it feels like, and I still haven't used, I'm just now using a full tank of gas. So that's really nice, and I really like the fact that I can drive everywhere without having to worry about gas, because that's something that I definitely did not feel or see in my Mustang. But after that, I think I'm going to do some touch-up on this car. There's a few rust spots I want to take care of, and I finally purchased some touch-up paint for this vehicle. I went to the Ford dealership and got that taken care of. So I'm gonna now start to apply some of that to my vehicle. So I went from 11 miles left to empty to 380 miles to E, and it only took me $27 to fill up the whole tank, which is great considering the Mustang costs almost twice as much to get about half the mile. All right, guys, so we're back at my house now, and I want to walk around the vehicle and show you some of the stuff that I want to look at fixing. All right, so I bought that touch-up pen, and we're just going to take care of a bunch of little stuff like this. There's a few small chips on the hood and things like that I want to go over. And then also this rust. There's some rust down there, and all under by those pinch welds right there, you can see there's that rust, as well as we're starting to develop a tiny bit. This is more chipped right here, but down there, and then on the other side, oh yeah, we also want to get those all touched up. Well, there's some more there too. Right here, this I need to take care of that, as well as it's kind of rusting down around here, as well as also on the same side, you can see right there on those pinch welds. We want to take care of that. So this car was a budget car that I purchased. This is not my Mustang. I don't want to spend a lot of money on it, so we're just gonna clean it off and cover up the rust, make sure it doesn't get any worse. I'm not gonna go through the process of shaving everything down and completely painting over it. I don't want to spend a lot of money on this car. That's kind of the point of this vehicle. So here's what I'm gonna do. So I purchased some auto paint touch-up from the Ford dealership. This will be the exact color match for this car. I'm going to use this as much as I can on some of the areas that I need to cover and touch up. And also, I got just this auto spray paint that we're just going to spray over the bottom areas that are rusted. Something so that you can't see it from far away. It's not going to look terrible, and better than what it is now. I'm not going to go through a full sand down and stuff just for those pinch weld areas. I went around and cleaned and wiped off all those spots that I plan on touching up. I didn't want any dirt on there before I started painting. So now I'm gonna dry that off and get ready to apply some. So we were able to seal up all those spots that were rusty, as well as clean up all the areas of paint that needed some work. So that's gonna be all for this video, guys. I really hope you liked this one. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel, and that's all for today. I'll see you in the next one.